Welcome to the Wake Up Dad Show. This is episode number 14.
When you don't sleep much as a dad, and then you got to get up and pay the bills, and you got to provide for your family, and then you got to try and find the passion to go to work and inspire your clients, and then you've got to even get up and try and find your purpose every morning. It's just every single one of those. If I'm having a weekday or an off day, you think, gosh, I'm struggling here, and I just can't be bothered to do this again. And is it kind of almost a bit of that? Sometimes you feel like as if it's on that same old cycle of going, okay, yep, here we go again. Am I
Wake up, Dad!
Are you confused and overwhelmed about your role in all the craziness that is being a dad? Are you struggling to create the life you hope for? Are you looking for other dads to share your struggles and your triumphs? Or do you just need help waking up in the morning? Join your host, Dr. Scott Vatcher, as he explores the amazing and sometimes crazy world of being a dad. This is the Wake Up Dad Show.
Hello, Dad, and welcome to another episode of the Wake Up Dad Show. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Vatcher, and on today's episode, I have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Sam Floreani. He's an international speaker, a vitalistic expert, a happiness guru, and a dad joke extraordinaire. I'm totally looking forward to some of these dad jokes. He's the creator of an awesome program called the Innate Summit, and he has two kids, Charlie and Felix. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thank you very much, Scott. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Not a worry. I'm glad to get you on the show. Very, very quick. We decided we were going to do a show, and a half hour later, we're recording it. So that's awesome. I like people who get shit done.
Yeah, otherwise we put it on the back burner, and it becomes a good idea, and then a good idea becomes a thought, and all of a sudden it's one of those things we talk about over a beer in 3 months' time. We haven't done yet. So just let's get it done.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good lesson for people that, straight off the bat, there's a knowledge bomb right there. You got an idea, act on it, get it done. So, Sam, get us started on today's journey of this podcast by telling us a little bit about how you became a dad, what your story is about the dad that you are today.
Okay, well, how I became a dad, I'm pretty sure most of us know the very starting process of becoming a dad. It obviously starts off with a loved one, and that's an enjoyable bit of period. But the reason why I am a dad is because I've always loved kids. Me and my beautiful wife, we went overseas for a honeymoon, and then 5.5 years later, we stayed over in Europe. We never came back. And whilst over there, my dad said to me, so you're going to go to Italy and learn the language and start a chiropractic business and have some fun over there? And how long are you going to go for? And I can remember saying to him, I have no idea. It could be 6 months, and we could come back here with our tail between our legs, or I could have go overseas, fall in love with the language, the food, and come back to Australia with in 5 years' time with 2 kids. And believe it or not, that exact thing took place. So we went overseas. We started a couple of businesses over there, and we loved snowboarding and living in Europe and traveling all the way through, from Italy and Spain and Portugal and all the way through Europe for a couple of years. And then we, kids were always on our agenda, but didn't know when it was going to happen. But lucky enough, they came whilst they were over there. Both my kids were born in the northern lakes of Italy. They were both born at home, just being around the beautiful villages and all of the whole family, the whole village getting around us and loving the fact that these 2 Australian couples had these natural kids. And just kind of went off from there. We're living in the country of love in Italy, and that's where it went. That's from there it basically took off. And now I'm a dad. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and I'm probably guessing I'm not going to stop there. But that's the start of my journey as a dad, and I'm loving every moment of it still.
Oh, that's great. And you had similar story to me. I'm in Australia now 14 years. Initially, I was going to be here for a year, and 14 years later, I'm still here. So you never know where life's going to take you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things. It's actually, just taking that risk and jumping into it. We did that. I remember someone saying to me, so how are you going to go over there? One of my old clients, how are you going to go? Do you know the language? This is about a month before I left. And I thought, no, I should be fine. And then that when it dawned on me, I realized, I am a chiropractor. I can't say even hello in Italian. And I'm going to try and go over there and make this thing work for me. But for some reason, my wife was next to me and we had the support of each other, and then we just jumped in and off we went, and it's been the best thing I've ever done.
So let's go a bit deeper into that. I mean, I think there's a lesson to be learned there for us dads. Is, you know, as a dad, when you have, in particular, your first kid, it's all in, right? You're jumping in without knowing what's going on, and there's a lot of learning to do. How did you overcome that language barrier? Like, obviously, I guess you eventually learned some language, but how did you go about that? How were those challenges?
Well, fortunate enough, I'm a chiropractor, and my language, I suppose, or my professional language is with my hands. So I could get over there. I managed to just smile, laugh, and point to certain parts of the body, saying with my props, explain that the brain and the body are meant to communicate correctly. And when there's a blockage, that's my job. I come there and I put my hands on you, and that gets better. And I give them thumbs up, and I give them a hug, and off they go. And so I couldn't even say 2 or 3 words to any of my clients, but they used to get a hug every single time. Whether you're a big burly bloke or you're a 60-year-old grandma, you'd get a hug from me and a big smile. And I think that was what the Italian people really enjoyed, as well as obviously coming from a big family as well. They liked that. So I just got there for the first 6 to 12 months. I was just there with a big dorky kind of look on my face with a smile and a hug, and I could get some results done with my hands. And that seemed to kind of get us started. My wife was there as well, and she was a chiropractor. And that kind of allowed us to be this, I suppose, unique, weird couple that were helping people without any language. And then we ended up hiring some translators that would help us to kind of get people in the door, and off we go from there. But yeah, that was kind of how it all went about, really. It was just that process. And the reason why we went overseas originally is my wife has said to us, look, we went travelling and we fell in love with Lake Como, a beautiful big lake up in Italy. This is about 6 months prior to moving over there. And she said, Sam, at some point before we get married, I want to live in Italy. And I thought, yeah, okay, no worries, hun, we'll get married, we'll go over there at some stage. And then literally 2 months later, we just bought a brand new car, decked the house out with all brand new kind of couches and everything else. After we bought it all, she goes to us, I want to go in 3 months' time. And here's me being a rational man and a bloke thinking, I've got to be kidding me. We've just spent all this money, brand new furniture, we've got leases out and credit cards and this kind of stuff. Went to sell it all, lost probably at least 60% of the value on all that kind of stuff. And she was just really passionate. She had this intern intuition, really wanted to go overseas and thought it would be good for our relationship. And I'm just so thankful that I listened to her, because didn't make sense at the time. I was like, as a man, as a bloke, rational thinking, there's no way we should ever do this. We just spend all this money. But she thought it was going to be a good idea, and I trusted her and I wanted to be with her, and that was kind of one of her conditions of us getting married. And that took place, and that, I suppose, was the start of the trust that I had in my wife, just knowing that she had, I suppose, intuition that I didn't have and I didn't understand, and that's been a really strong part of our journey as well.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess it goes to show that sometimes we should listen to our wives, hey?
Yeah, only sometimes though. Yeah, only sometimes.
Not all the time, that's for sure. And circling back to that language thing, I like it, and I think the language of love is universal, isn't it? So even without words, sometimes just a hug, a gesture, pointing, and it goes to show that those things that you would think would be nearly impossible, if not fully impossible, are really truly possible when you just give it a shot.
Yeah, also I think when you get out of your head as well, when you rationalize things, it can be more of an issue, because you think, well, hang on, that doesn't make sense. How can that be the case of going, whether it's going overseas or having children in another country or whatever it might be for us? And my biggest lesson that I would love to share with whoever wants to listen to it, and for myself and for my own kids, is just really trust that intuition. Because in this day and age, we're stuck in a world of technology where we're always bombarded with, the next email, or where's the next scientific proof, or the new iPhone that's come out, or we want education, information, in an informational world. But the real kind of beauty, I think, is that, the intuition that we have as parents. And unfortunate to say this, but how mums seem to have it as well. Mums just seem to have that mother's instinct. They know deep down in their guts that they know their babies are sick when we are not even there as dads. So, that's what I'm learning a lot right now, is basically trusting the intuition of parenting, which is kind of scary but exciting at the same time.
Totally get it. Trust your intuition is a big one. Follow your bliss, I think, is another really important lesson to learn for us as dads out there. So let's talk about the 5 P's of dadhood. So I'm going to review these for people, probably for the first many podcasts, so people get the idea, and so that you can get the idea of where you want to go with this podcast as well. So the 5 P's is all around how to get more out of life, and this show is dedicated to dads who want more, the ones who have fallen asleep and become unconscious about who they are as men, as dads, as lovers, and as people. So the first P that I think needs to be woken up is purpose, and that's the reason you're here, or what you want to leave behind, your legacy. The second one is power, which is about reaching optimal health. The third one is parenting, of course, being the best version of ourselves for our kids and our parents. Number 4 is about providing, taking care of our family and being a role model for our kids. And number 5 is about passion, both in our relationships and in our life in general. So out of those 5 Ps, which one do you feel like you are either struggling with the most as of now, or at some point in the past that you might want to share with dads out there to sort of let them know they're not alone, number 1, and then to give them some tips and strategies about what they might be able to do to help some changes there?
Well, to be honest, every single one of those I have struggled with, and I still struggle with. And I know that's probably be a bit of a blank statement, and you want to kind of pick out one of those areas. But every day when you don't sleep much as a dad, and then you got to get up and pay the bills, and you got to provide for your family, and then you got to try and find the passion to go to work and inspire your clients, and then you've got to even get up and try and find your purpose every morning. It's just every single one of those. If I'm having a weekday or an off day, you think, gosh, I'm struggling here, and I just can't be bothered to do this again. And is it kind of almost a bit of that? Sometimes you feel like as if it's on that same old cycle of going, okay, yep, here we go again. Am I going to be able to watch that one film, or am I going to have that spare bit of time with my partner and go off to the movies and spend that time, with her? Or am I going to be able to make love to my wife for the next 2 weeks, because right now we've got so much on our plate? So to be really honest, I think all 5 of those areas are just so important, and I have definitely struggled with all of them. But what I would like to say for my own self is just having the simple little nitbits on a day-to-day basis to get you on a plan. Whether it's going to be, I'm going to get up in the morning and do some gratitude notes, or my purpose is just spending some time realizing how beautiful my kids are. And then once just having those 2 or 3 things, when time does get tough and you have got to pay your parking fine, and you come home and you're pissed off because you haven't, seen your partner, and she's pissed off with you because, she's had kids kissing and vomiting over her, and she's been doing her thing all day. And then just stopping and going, okay, let's just stop and breathe right now. We understand, well, life is full, life is busy. But let's just reflect on how awesome we do have it, and then let's just reconnect with our why, or our purpose, as you said before, and then from once you're finding your purpose, and then you think, okay, so now I've got my purpose back, where I've got no power right now because I'm struggling, because I haven't slept and because I haven't had a holiday for a certain period of time. So how can I get my power back? All right, now I know in the past my power comes from eating good foods and going to the gym and maybe whatever else, maybe even going out with the boys, having a few beers with the boys, just to get a bit of relax. So just knowing and identifying what parts of your life are lacking, and then actually getting a chance to put down a plan to fix all those areas. I reckon that would be one thing that I've done on a regular basis, and I'm lucky enough because once again I'm a chiropractor and I run multiple workshops for my clients, but also for other chiropractors, to help them, to help me and also other clients to be able to not get all caught up in how crazy life is, but just stop, appreciate the moment, and then write a to-do list, and write a plan of action plan. Okay, if you are lacking, if you don't feel like you're providing enough, then say, okay, maybe you should sit down and do a budget for the family, and say, now let's plan a budget for the next couple of days. Because if we're getting caught up in the whole headspace of, oh my gosh, I've got to have these 5 things and be perfect. To be honest, no dad's perfect. No family's perfect, in my experience. And if you are, please call me and tell me what your secret is, because I would love to know it. But that would be me. If I'm not sure if that's what you wanted me to go down, Scott, but
no, it's absolutely brilliant. And of the interviews I've done so far, essentially everyone, for the most part, has said the exact same sort of situation where they've struggled with all of those to one degree or another at some point or another. And I think that just helps us out there as dads, if you're listening now and you're a dad and you're struggling, know that you're not alone. You know, people who look like they've got it together, you know, us as professionals out there and et cetera, man, it's tough. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes things fall apart, and that's okay, because that's part of the journey. It's how we grow.
Yeah, and one thing I suppose I would like to add to that as well is, if someone said to me, so where do you start? Right now I'm feeling like I've just had my world rocked, and I find it hilarious seeing new dads that are, you know, having that all excitement. They're kind of freaked out the week before the baby's due. They have bought the nappies. They've got the place, the what do you say, the baby split room all ready to go. They have it all freshly painted and stuff, and then you see them 2 or 3 weeks after the birth. You try and take them a present, and their eyes are just so bloodshot, and they're just like, yeah, in the headlights, and they're like, what have I just got myself into? You know, but they, at the end of the day, they have just got, I heard a beautiful Italian quote that basically says, the birth of a child, birth of the first child isn't actually at all the birth of the first child, it's the birth of 2 parents. And because, you know, I remember before I was born, my brothers were telling me, oh yeah, you know, it's, I remember when Willem pooed on me, or when, you know, Isabella did this to me. It's like, if someone pooed on me, I would punch him right in the nose. That was my thought about a week before I had Charlie. And then when Charlie was born, I remember being on the phone and saying, oh, she's so cute, she just pooed on me. Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, literally 10 days prior, I would have punched someone for doing that, and now I'm in love with this thing that just pooed on me. You know, so there's definitely like a brilliance that takes place that, you know, happens. That happens, you know, and that's, I reckon, just getting out of your head and just appreciating that nature knows best. You know, you have got the goods. You manage to be able to have that magic to start the baby being developed, and then you know, it's all going to be perfect. So just enjoy the ride and enjoy the process, and then and just trusting in that internal brilliance of the body, which allowed, first of all, the baby to be born, and then second of all, that allows your princess or your prince to think that you're the best and coolest thing ever. You are Superman, you are Prince Charming, you are everything to your child, and you don't even need to do that. They just have an internal love for you, and just be with that and stay in that moment. And that, I think, would be the biggest trick to be, if I did say, if someone asked me what to do, would literally be just be in that moment, love yourself and love your children, because you are to them already everything.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you say that quote in Italian?
Yeah. La nascita di un bambino è... No, sorry, hang on. La nascita di un bambino non solo per lui, ma è per i genitori. So basically that's pretty much how it goes.
Sounds good to me. That's awesome. So yeah, you mentioned that as part of the process, I think, is looking at sort of routine. How do you figure out how to bring it into daily practice, to look at certain things that you want to do on a whether it be a daily, weekly practice or whatever the case might be. Is there anything that you use in your daily routine to help you out with any of those 5 Ps? Do you have a morning routine or an evening routine that you might want to share? Something along those lines?
Yeah, definitely. Probably apart from my wife and my 2 children, the most important asset that I have is my little diary. And whether it's if you love technology, that's fine, use that. But I've got like an old, something called moleskins in Australia, like a little moleskin diary thing, journal thing. And every single morning, I would get up in the morning and do at least a 7-minute meditation. I normally aim for a 25 to 30-minute meditation, just to kind of connect with me. And I get up nice and early, so around about 5:30, 6 a.m. And I've got a challenge for myself to do that every Saturday and Sunday mornings as well. Sometimes I miss the Sunday mornings, so I like to stay in bed and cuddle my family. But that would be, by far for me, the trick would be to get up in the morning, meditate, and then sit down and write down just a couple of things that I would like to get done for the day. And it could be something as simple as giving my wife 100 kisses, or I would like to take Charlie to ballet, or I'm, in that list there'll be give 100 kisses to my wife, have some fun, pay those 3 bills, exercise, meditate again before seeing clients, and whatever comes into your head. It could even be go to the pub and have 3 beers, with your friends. Whatever it might be, and at the end of the day, just going back and looking at the thing and just going through and ticking it, or even the next day when you're doing the following day's checklist, reading back over the day before and just seeing how many things you achieved, and that in itself gives you a little bit of a sense of achievement, because you might go, oh wow, I did actually pay those bills without even thinking about it. And I did actually take Charlie to ballet, and obviously for me to write it down yesterday must have been important for me at that moment, and I have actually achieved those. Very rarely you tick all of them off, but even if you get 60% of them done or 70% of them done, it just makes you feel as if, first of all, you're achieving things, you're getting things done, but just kind of, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed and stuff in a day and you just can't think because you've only had 2 hours sleep the night before and you had your kids, vomiting all over you and whatever else, when you have that bit of downtime, you can look back through your diary and okay, so now my plan of attack is, okay, I've got to go to the gym. I've got to put aside 5 minutes to get my shoes on. Just get out of the house and go for a walk. Whatever it might be. It just gives you a little bit of a security blanket, a safety net to fall back on if if you're a bit overwhelmed at some point throughout the day. So for me, that journal for me has been the most important thing. And now you can kind of do it on your computer. Now you can just push a button and talk to your computer and it does it for you. But that would be, I like to have my hands on it and write my little list. And I know exactly where it is every day, and I literally date, I've probably got 3 per page, and probably go through 1 moleskin every year, and I've got a whole shelf full of moleskins. So, it's just, for me, just having that kind of ritual of meditating and getting up and then just journaling, and I only do maybe 5 to 10 things. And sometimes I might just say get up and have a bucket load of fun and stop thinking. I have 2 points written down. That's my goal for the day, is to do those 2 things. And that just kind of helps me.
And I'm exactly the same way. I've got, at any given time, probably 3 to 4 diaries going for different scenarios. So it's, if you haven't listened to the podcast just a few episodes back on purpose, I believe it's episode number 3, go back and have a listen to that. I break down how to utilize goals and visions through 25-year, 10-year, 5-year, right down to a daily breakdown. So, along the same lines as what Dr. Sam was just talking about, have a listen to that episode too, because there's some really good gems in there on how to break it down properly. And I use an app as well called Way of Life. So I'll put that into the show notes page as well, which is a really cool way to really sort of make habits part of the process. So breaking it up into a daily routine is a fantastic thing, and then utilizing that app is a great way to get habits on the go as well. So
you're right, but the habits are definitely important.
Absolutely. So there's so many of them, but does anything jump out to you as being one of the biggest lessons that you've learned around when you became a dad or becoming a dad?
I would say right now, just the one that's sticking at me is turn off my iPhone. Mm-hmm. Or put it aside. My iPhone broke the other day, and I had to get it fixed, and it was 1.5 days, 2 days without my iPhone. And I spend a lot of time. By the time you have your emails and you have your social media kind of campaigns, if you're doing those with advertising, and you can pick up your phone and hit 4 or 5 applications, and every single hour they're updated with more crap on them, basically, and it almost deters you away from being present. And when I had that phone broken for a little bit of time, I was like, wow, I'm actually loving looking back and seeing my kids in the rear vision mirror driving the car, and I'm loving the fact that I can pick them up and I don't need to worry about my phone. I can't do a social media post, or I can't do that phone call can wait, and everyone knows my phone's off a couple of days. So just having my phone off and even not taking it with me to the shops, I was like, wow, I can actually turn around, and even when Charlie's at ballet, rather than her or Felix swimming, when you're in the pool, you obviously haven't got your phone, so you're loving that period of time. But watching Charlie do at ballet, see how she interacts with friends and kids and whatever else, and then see how other mums or dads are loving their kids at that moment, you just think, these things are gonna happen so quickly, and usually I've got my head buried in my phone. And that's okay. I've got to have time for business and I've got staff to pay, and I've got to pay bills and everything else like most people. But when I'm with sometimes when I'm with the kids, I just even tickle time. Charlie comes home and Dad's home. It's tickle time. Tickle monster's here. Just leave your phone there and just go and spend half an hour tickling them, and they just love that to bits. So, and I've had a few times where I've, Charlie Felix walk, for example, for the first couple of times, and my wife's like, Sam, what are you doing? And I'm looking at my phone, doing something, playing or doing something on the phone, and I missed something as simple as a couple of steps or, a big smile, the way his first couple of words to him, he's saying, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And before I couldn't understand what he was saying because it wasn't coming out smoothly and crisply, but I just thought he was mumbling again. But it wasn't actually the case. He was talking to me. And he looks up at me, put your phone down, you look into his eyes and think, wow, this kid is so in love with me. And I'm just sitting on my freaking telephone. So my big lesson, even just talking about it now, I feel like a bit of a douchebag. But, that would be something that would be my biggest challenge right now is just putting down social media. Or putting down TVs, remote controls, just because I'm a bloke and, big lights kind of attract me. Whether it's, if you're in Las Vegas or at the casino or, on TV or on your telephone, like a butterfly, I'm drawn to bright lights. So if you can put it in my hands, look at it.
I'm laughing because, I agree with the whole thing. And as blokes, we like bright lights and we like gadgets and games.
Yeah, totally.
And just stuff, and I think that's okay as a dad, but no, that's a huge lesson, and I'm fully guilty of it as well, as far as just being present. I think that's the easiest way to say it, and it doesn't have to be for that long. Like, I think if you're fully present, 5 minutes to a kid feels like a lifetime. So instead of wasting time with being half into your iPhone and half into your kid for an hour and then realizing you didn't get anything done in any way, I set my timer on my phone when I know there's things I need to get done, but Rory, my kid, wants some real time with me. I go, okay, let's set the timer. And I take it out and I let her choose the times, sort of. She'll throw it to 3 hours. And I go, no, okay, let's dial it back to 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And then she presses start. It's like, okay, let's go. And boom, we're on for monsters. She loves monsters at the moment. I just chase her around the house and pick her up and throw her around and all of that. But timer goes off and she knows that, okay, time for Daddy to do some work. So, that works really well for me anyway. Hopefully, that might work well for somebody out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And time passes so quickly for them, so they, every hour they seem to be a different person. So just that monsters or tickle monster, whatever it might be, it's such a beautiful thing. I'm seeing all the punks now, my brothers, all my nephews that are all in their 15, 16, 17, and think they're going through their period of different journey and different life lessons as well, and how important having their dad there to talk about girlfriends and boyfriends and all that kind of stuff is. So every chapter is going to be different, and I would hate to turn around in 50 years' time and say, gosh, I don't even remember seeing my kids. So, yeah.
Fully agree. So if you had 2 minutes in front of a room of 1,000 dads who were fully attentive, all their iPhones were turned off, there were no bright lights except for shining on you, what would be your greatest wake-up dad message to them? Something that would hit home in like a 2 minutes or less sort of scenario.
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot twice before. I think that I would really hit home saying, okay, if I had 2 minutes to say this in front of people, I would say, love yourself. Just make sure that you are the best version of you that you are proud of, because the kids are already going to love you. No matter whatever you do, whether you're an idiot or whether you're a great dad, the kids are going to love you. So if you love yourself and you are totally happy with the person that you can see in front of the mirror, and not because you've got a six-pack or bulging biceps, but you're actually loving the person that you are, then I think that would be the best lesson that the kids are going to be able to take home, because then they're going to be able to, they know they can put their energy in there. If they are uncomfortable or they're feeling a bit overwhelmed, they're going to look up to their dad because their dad's their mentor, he's their hero, he's their leader. And if they can look at you and say, well, Dad seems pretty happy and Dad's kind of seem to have some things switched on, I can then go to Dad for advice. If you're a space cadet and and you can't even sort your own life out, or you don't love yourself, for example, then it's going to be harder for those kids to be able to. They're still going to do it, no doubt about it. But it's going to be, I think, long-term longevity for your relationship, for yourself and for the children, would be if you love yourself first. So just spend time learning how to love yourself. That's not to be selfish. It's just spending this time being disciplined. Those 10 beers might not be as ideal for you. Maybe have 5 beers and then go to the gym one of those times. Or do some meditation, or have a green smoothie every now and again, or, get adjusted, or, do some yoga, or whatever, do your goal list. Just do some stuff to do whatever it takes to just make sure that you are the person that you love in front of the mirror and appreciate how awesome your body is. And then I'm sure that will then bounce back, as then the kids can look up to you as a role model.
And, that's the whole reason I created this podcast in the first place, because I think we can get lost as dads, and I think it's a really important take home there to say, take care of yourself, because you're the only one that can do that. As much as you think that other people might be able to take care of you, sometimes that's not the case. You're the only one that can take care of you. So by doing that, first you create a role model for your kids, and by doing that, I think your kids will be much better off in the end. It's a great message there. Do you have an app or a book or an audio book or a gadget or a game or an exercise routine or an author or something that you're just loving at the moment?
Yeah, there's a really cool app. There's some fantastic books that I read, that I love, that I find fascinating. A lot of them are in my professional career, so it might not be as exciting, but there's a really fantastic app. If you haven't got it yet, it's called the Insight Timer. And it's spelled as simply as it sounds, so the INSIGHT and then timer, TIMER. It's a free application you can download at all, and it's basically a mindful application you can put in there. And I'm all for meditating and just spending some time with yourself and acknowledging how fantastic your body is. And this thing here, if most blokes particularly, are shit scared of meditation, and I think it's only for yogis or freaks with funny pants. But it's not even that at all. It's just the fact of just getting that chance to spend time with yourself. And we spend hours in front of the TV, which is just basically brain numbing us, which can be good fun sometimes, but just this Insight Timer is, you go on there and you can put in a 3-minute meditation, and you can do, I want to have a morning sunrise meditation. And the whole point of this Insight Timer, they're actually pushing to have over 10,000 years of meditation. So every single time you're actually meditating with people all over the world. And it's free, and you just go on there, and it's like it maps your meditation for you. They've got multiple. They've got guided meditations. They've got just music. They've got whatever it might be. But it just allows you to be able to be in the same energetic field, and to show that you're actually not just a weird, crazy hippie in your middle of your dark room meditating, but there's actually hundreds of thousands of people all over the world meditating, and there's other guys and other girls and young people and old people all doing it. So you kind of become part of a tribe, if you like, in that meditation field. So for me, it's kind of exciting to realize that I'm contributing some energy to the whole world, which sounds a bit crazy as saying as a bloke, but that's one thing that's really working for me right now, is just having a chance to meditate very easily and not putting aside 5 hours to do it. But if I've got 5 minutes, then I do it. If I've got 35 minutes, I do it. And sometimes I fall asleep, and sometimes I'm bored, but at least I'm doing it,
Yeah, no, that's great. Right back to the very beginning, we talked about just doing it, just throwing yourself in head first and follow your bliss. So I think that's a great way to sort of end on today's podcast. So if anything Dr. Sam said with you has resonated and you want to get in touch with him, Sam, what's the best way if anyone wants to get in touch with you?
You can probably email me, probably the best.
Yep.
And my email address is Dr. Sam, Dr. Sam, at theinnatelife.com. And the innate life is just so it's THEIN and the number 8 and then life, LIFE.com.
Fantastic. Thanks again for that awesome discussion, Sam. Check us out on the website, www.thewakeupdadshow.com. Go to iTunes, give us a rating so we can reach more dads. My email is drscott@thewakeupdadshow.com if you want to get in touch with me about anything. And thanks again, Sam.
Hey, before you go, though, you
Yes.
did promise me one thing, though.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. What is...
That's okay.
You can throw out a few if you want. Your best dad jokes.
Well, usually dad jokes work best when they are in a situation, but you've kind of you put me on it, so I'm just going to run off a few that I've had in the back of my mind.
All right.
So, what's the worst thing about ancient history class?
Don't know.
The teachers tend to babble on.
That's a dad joke. Yep.
And I'm going to tell you my theory on dad jokes shortly as well.
Okay.
But before I do, I better make sure I have one more dad joke for you. And maybe what's the best thing about elevator jokes?
Best thing about elevator.
Elevator meaning obviously elevator in a building.
Don't know.
They work on so many levels.
That's another dad joke.
It certainly is. And maybe the last one is what's the last one? What happened to the cow that jumped over the barbed wire fence?
Ooh. I don't know.
Oh, you almost had it. Utter destruction.
What's that?
Utter.
Oh,
You almost utter destruction.
My. So what's your theory on dad jokes?
Before I do go, I'm going to tell you, because I do like my dad jokes, and I think that it's just become a ritual we should pass on to all dads.
Yes.
That there's 3 aspects to being a dad joke. If your wife doesn't like them and they find them embarrassing, that's a good sign that it's a good dad joke. If you have one person that hears the dad joke roll their eyes, it's a definite win. And then my favourite kind of criteria of a dad joke is if you tell the joke and there's utter silence, but then you hear a male chuckle from another dad, about 3 seconds after the punchline's delivered, it's a definite dad joke. So they're not designed to make the room burst into laughter, but they're designed for other dads to be enjoying our humour and our stupidity, and that's why I love dad jokes.
And those 3 criteria are spot on. I would fully agree with you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Scott. I'm glad that I can manage to get there. I've got multiple more, but I'll leave that for the next podcast.
Yes, yeah, we'll get you on again, and maybe we'll have just like a stand-up comedy podcast or something.
Just a dad joke session of all the dads that have been on this podcast. I'd love to have a dad joke off.
A dad joke off. I like it. I'll keep that in mind. Maybe a Facebook competition.
Nice.
All right, Sam. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks again, Scott, for having me, and you're doing a wonderful thing here. So thanks very much.
Do you want to know more about the Wake Up Dad movement? Go to www.thewakeupdadshow.com to download any and all past issues of the show, claim your free gift, or to directly ask Dr. Scott any questions you have. Continue the conversation on the Facebook group Wake Up Dad. Share this podcast with other dads on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure to subscribe to the show and give us a rating so we can reach more dads. And dads, one last thing. Wake up!